Chapter 28 of Marriage Tries to Salted Fish. Father Lin knew that his eldest son must have something important to be bringing his husband home at this time. He took the both of them to the study. Lin Qingyi waved at the servant who served the tea to withdraw, then took out a porcelain bottle from his sleeve. He handed it to Father Lin. Father, do you recognize this fragrance? Father Lin uncorked the bottle and gave it a sniff. He said, after some consideration, this fragrance is dignified, heavy, and strong. It lingers. It's almost like Feng Xiao Huang, unique to Feng Yi Palace. Father Lin, as a Panwan of the Imperial Hospital, although his official position wasn't high, he was still counted among the Emperor's inner ministerial circle. He personally looked after the Emperor and the Empress's health. Every 3 days, he would go to Feng Yi Palace to examine the Empress's pulse. So he was quite familiar with the smell of Feng Shuo Hong. Lin Qingyu smiled helplessly. It's only almost like. Lu Wancheng said, it turns out that you have been busy trying to recreate the incense used by the Empress, but you have only been in Feng Yi Palace for how long? It's already pretty good to be able to create it almost perfectly. Lin Qingyu shook his head. It's not enough. Incense and medication have a lot in common. He should have been able to do better. You're too demanding on yourself. You can go easier on yourself a bit, Lu Wancheng urged him. If your demands on yourself are just enough to get by, why then that would be no different from living free from all anxieties. Lin Qingyu coldly swept his eyes away. Must you really spout your nonsense at me right now? Lu Wancheng smiled and said, all right, I was wrong. Don't glare at me in front of father-in-law. You're making me look like I have no status in this household. Father Lin watched the two of them banter, and he understood how Lu Wancheng could still be alive today. When all was said and done, this was the prescription he gave Lin Qingyu that day in action. Lin Qingyu didn't feel like bothering with a certain someone anymore and said, Father, that incense used in Feng Yi Palace, Changle Palace and the Eastern Palace. Can you help me get a sample? Father Lin has been holding the position of Panwan of the Imperial Hospital for a long time and has built connections in both the Imperial Medical Office and the Imperial Hospital. He attached great importance to the cultivation of talent, and every young Imperial doctor who has just arrived at the Imperial Hospital has received his guidance and teaching. Among them, a particularly kind and honest, hardworking and studious newcomer who came from a poor family had been admitted as a student, and this young man, he gave his everything to help and teach. Imperial physicians who didn't have enough qualifications could only treat the eunuchs and maids in the palace. His apprentice, because of his good medical skills and good temperament, was very popular among the maids and eunuchs of the palace. He may be able to get what Lin Qingyu wanted from the maids of the 3 palaces. Maybe I can give it a try, Father Lin said. But what do you want these things for? Father Lin has been cautious and conscientious all his life. If he knew that his eldest son and son-in-law were plotting to kill the crown prince, he wouldn't be able to accept it. Lin Qingyu also didn't want to involve his family in this, so he just said, I have my uses for it, so father shouldn't ask. Father Lin looked worried. Qingyu, no matter what you want to do, the affairs of the palace aren't things that we can get involved with. Lin Qingyu smiled. Father, don't worry. I know not to overstep my bounds. His bounds were very simple, just Shao Cheng's life. Father Lin nodded and turned to Lu Wancheng. This is a rare meeting with young Master Hao. Would you allow me to examine your pulse? Lu Wancheng stretched out his arm, presenting his wrist. Thank you, father-in-law. Whenever Father Lin diagnosed his patient, he never let his emotions show on his face. While Lin Qingyu waited patiently, he felt a little nervous and apprehensive for no good reason. In truth, he knew very well in his heart that given Lu Wancheng's present condition, no matter how superb his father's medical skills were, it was only a matter of more time and less time. He didn't need to be nervous. No matter what the result, it was all within his expectations. Lin Qingyu forced himself to calm down. When his father took his hand back, he calmly asked, "Father, how is he?" Father Lin looked at Lin Qingyu meaningfully. "Did you change the prescription I gave you?" "Yes, I replaced the more toxic tiger wolf medicine with the relatively mild kutsu vine tuber and pseudo ginseng. The impact shouldn't have been too big." Kutsu vine tuber and pseudo ginseng are good medicines, but if you mix them with the rest of the herbs, I'm afraid. Father Lin paused for a moment but didn't go on. Lu Wancheng cast a resentful look at Lin Qingyu. Even father-in-law knew about his impotence. This wasn't just a little embarrassing. Fortunately, Father Lin didn't bother too much about this matter. This time is different from the past. With young Master Hao's current condition, milder prescriptions can't fill the gaps of his sickness. If you wish to delay it longer, you can only use strong medicine. Lu Wancheng asked, "What happens if I take the strong medicine?" Father Lin and Lin Qingyu looked at each other, but neither of them spoke. Lu Wancheng understood and said with a smile, "Then let's not use that. I'm quite afraid of pain." There was a knock on the door, and Lin Qinghei's crisp voice came from beyond it. "Papa, Gege, Wancheng Gege, Mama says it's time for dinner." Lin Qingyu opened the door and said, "Qinghe, you push Lu Wancheng Gege to the front hall first." Lu Wancheng deliberately asked Lin Qinghe, "Can Qinghe push me?" Lin Qinghe nodded again and again. I can, I'm very strong." After the two left, Lin Qingyu asked, "Father, is there really no other way?" Father Lin sighed and said, "Have Nanan Hao prepare for the funeral as soon as possible. No more than 2 months." Oh gosh, I'm not ready for this. 2 months, enough for them to take that dog Shaocheng's life. Lin Qingyu closed his eyes and found himself saying, "I understand." Lu Wancheng and the Lin family had dinner together. Mother Lin was worried about her sickly guest and specially ordered the cook to prepare a lot of light and easy to eat dishes. Father Lin was leaving for Yonglian tomorrow, and this meal was also practice for him. Lu Wancheng seemed to be in a good mood, with a smile at the corner of his mouth. He even moved his chopsticks frequently. He would only put a little bit onto his plate at a time, and it didn't take long for his plate to be half full. Lin Qingyu knew that Lu Wancheng could hardly eat anything except for rice porridge now. He did this just because he didn't want to spoil their fun. But obviously, this was what spoiled his own fun the most. Otherwise, why would he have no appetite in the face of a bunch of his favorite dishes? During the meal, Father Lin mentioned about his student in the Imperial Hospital. "I have asked the servant to go to his house and deliver a message asking him to come to the house tomorrow. If you have any orders, just let him know." Lin Qingyu nodded and said, "All right." "Qingyu," Mother Lin called softly, motioning for him to look at Lu Wancheng. He saw Lu Wancheng sitting in a wheelchair, his head slightly turned to one side, his eyes closed, his expression calm, and his hand still holding the silver chopsticks. The Lin family looked at each other and with tacit understanding put down their chopsticks as well. Li Qinghe called out cautiously, "Wancheng Gege?" Lin Qingyu made a shushing motion and said softly, "He's just asleep." It was only after being tired out from the carriage trip from the Nananhao mansion to the Lin residence, topped off with a long discussion that Lu Wancheng could fall asleep in the middle of the family reunion. Lin Qingyu beckoned to Huan Tong and Hua Lu. Take young Master Hao back to the room to rest. Huan Tong asked, Young Master, to which room should we take him? Lin Qingyu was taken aback. Mother Lin said, Qingyu, your room has been tidied up. Would young Master Hao be staying in a room with you or... Lin Qingyu hesitated for a moment and said, Let him stay in the guest room. In the Hao mansion, there was a reason why he wronged himself by sleeping on a Lao Han in the same room as Lu Wancheng. Now that they were back at his home, they naturally didn't need to sleep together anymore. As for the reason why he was willing to sleep in the same room with Lu Wancheng, at first it was to shut Liang Shi's mouth, and then it was probably because he got used to it and was too lazy to move out. He had unexpectedly maintained such a bad habit for more than a year. Lin Qingyu had Huan Tong and Hua Lu watch over Lu Wancheng in the guest room while he rested in his bedroom. Since he could remember, he slept in this bedroom until he put on his wedding robes and married into the Hao mansion. The room was clean and spotless, and the furnishings were exactly the same as he remembered. But he kept feeling that something was wrong. If there was a screen with mandarin ducks playing in the water between the bed and the Lao Han, Lin Qingyu stopped himself from thinking about it any longer. He blew out the candle and fell asleep by himself. Early next morning, Father Lin bid farewell to his wife and children and set off for his trip to Yonglian, escorted by several of the Gu family's guards. No one went to wake Lu Wancheng up, but Lu Wancheng woke up by himself, even earlier than Lin Qingyu. He paid his respects to Father Lin alone and then, together with the Lin family, saw Father Lin off to the carriage. Lin Qingyu asked, Why did you wake up so early today? I think it was because I slept early yesterday, Lu Wancheng said leisurely. Isn't it good to wake up a bit early to save you from complaining about how I sleep too much? Lin Qingyu paused and said, I don't mind it now. Sleep as long as you like. Lu Wancheng squinted his eyes, looking at the first rays of the morning sun that he hadn't seen for a long time. He said, There will be time to sleep in the future. It's all right to sleep less now. Lin Qingyu stood beside the wheelchair, watching the sunrise with him for a while. He said, Let's go in. Lin Qinghe had long reached the age of schooling and he had to go to school on weekdays. Mother Lin thought that since Lin Qingyu so rarely came back, she should give her youngest son a few days off so that the two brothers could spend time together. Who could have guessed that Lin Qinghe wouldn't be any less relaxed with his brother than in school? He recited his lessons and wrote his words. Not a single thing was missed. Lu Wancheng looked at the two, one big and one small, hard at work, and so he too took a pen and scribbled on the paper, feeling very bored. After Lin Qingyu listened to Lin Qinghe's recitations, he looked up at Lu Wancheng and saw him yawning, holding a pen in his hand. After meeting his gaze, he turned and stopped, and then sneakily took out the buyao from inside his clothes, skillfully twirling it around. Lin Qinghe was attracted by the novelty. He pulled Lin Qingyu's sleeve and said, Brother, I want to learn how to do that. Lin Qingyu said coldly, No, you're not allowed. Lin Qinghe looked very disappointed. Lu Wancheng winked at him. It's okay, I will teach you secretly later. Lin Qingyu, ... Not long after, Mother Lin ordered her Momo to deliver to them a message saying that she had made a few snacks and she asked the three young masters to have some before they continue to hard work. Lin Qinghe eagerly asked, Gege, can I have a break? Lin Ching smiled lightly. Go. Lin Ching He happily took the Momo's hand and left. Lu Wancheng asked, Aren't you going to eat? Lin Ching He looked down at the words Lin Ching He had just written and said, I'm not hungry. Lu Wancheng looked at him for a while and said, Qingyu, do I have to sleep in the guest room tonight? Lin Qingyu's heart moved and he asked, You didn't sleep well in the guest room? Lu Wancheng said slowly, No, it's not that. He was about to say something more when he heard Huan Tong reporting from outside. Young master, imperial physician Hu is here. Hu Ji, the imperial physician, was the disciple that Father Lin mentioned. Ask him to go to the front hall and wait for a while. Proper business was important, but Lin Qingyu didn't forget that it was about the time for Lu Wancheng to drink his medicine. Huan Tong, take young master Hao back to his room to drink his medicine. Lu Wancheng looked at Lin Qingyu's rapidly receding back, a complicated expression on his face. Huan Tong walked up to him and said, Young master Hao, let me push you back to your room. Lu Wancheng was silent for a long time. Suddenly, he smiled and whispered, Huan Tong, what should I do if I am a little depressed? Huan Tong said, puzzled, Why is young master Hao depressed? Lu Wancheng thought about it for a while and said, Not quite sure. It seems because I'm the only one who isn't used to it. Oh, Lu Wancheng, please, no. Even Lin Qingyu thought about that Mandarin ducks sleeping in the same room with you and the weirdness of being alone again, okay? He just has a freaking thick face and he doesn't show it. That's it. Gosh, my Lu Wancheng, he is falling for his wife so much. I'm feeling depressed. And I'm so sad that it's just the clock is here. It's less than 2 months. Yeah. Brace yourselves for the next one. And yeah, I stopped recording for like a week. So that's why my voice is different. It's winter and it started snowing a lot. So yeah, I'm taking a break. But I'm planning to upload everything in one go, so you shouldn't have any issues while listening though.